Right, recording in progress. It's a real pleasure to host today's event, Engineering Excellence Celebrating Women of Global Talent. On behalf of the Academy, I welcome you all here. We are gathered here to shine a light on stories that are quite often underrepresented. These are the stories of women in engineering who have crossed borders, navigated complex systems, and brought their talents and ambitions to the UK. As many of you know, women still make up a very small percentage, just 15% of the engineering profession in the UK. That number tells us that there is a long way to go. But it is important that we look at who's leading this way, who's innovating, who's shaping this field, and that we stop and recognize the women who are doing that. So this event today is part celebration, part reflection. We are going to hear from not one, not two, but three accomplished engineers who each bring a unique perspective as researchers, entrepreneurs, and change makers. They have used the global talent visa route to contribute meaningfully to the UK's research and innovation landscape. Their stories are more than just about their technical and engineering prowess. They are about their achievements, their leadership, their resilience, and the value of different voices in shaping progress. Whether you are here as a fellow engineer, an aspiring applicant, a policymaker, or simply somebody who values the role of science and engineering in our society, I hope today will give you a deeper appreciation for the global talent that enriches this country and the women who lead from within it. It's my pleasure to welcome our speakers. I will introduce them one by one, and then we will get started on our conversation. So first, I introduce you to Dr. Amanda Yu, Director of Crescendo Biologics Limited. Dr. Yu is a biochemist and entrepreneur turning cutting edge science into real innovation. She has a PhD in materials and bioengineering from Imperial College, London. She co-founded deep tech ventures, including Pure Affinity, focused on clean water solutions. Her career spans research, strategy, and commercial leadership, and she's now at Crescendo Biologics, while mentoring future science entrepreneurs at Imperial's Enterprise Lab. The Academy endorsed Amanda for the Global Talent Visa, and she continues to be a leader in UK's deep tech landscape. Welcome, Amanda. Our second speaker, Dr. Mona Faraji Niri, is an associate professor at the University of Warwick and a leading expert in intelligent energy systems. Originally from Iran, she specializes in battery modeling, machine learning, and optimization for electric vehicles. Mona is a research fellow of the Faraji Institution and a fellow of the Turing Institute. Once again, the Academy endorsed Mona for the Global Talent Visa. Her work has since earned multiple accolades, including the Tech Women 100 Award and recognition from the Institution of Engineers and Technologists and the University of Warwick. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Lina Mohjazi. Dr. Mohjazi is a senior lecturer at the University of Glasgow and an internationally recognized expert in sustainable wireless communications. Originally from Syria and raised in the UAE, she earned her PhD from the University of Surrey and has led major research and education programs in the UK. Endorsed as exceptional global talent by the Academy, Lina has authored over 100 publications and received multiple awards for her contributions to STEM and to inclusion. So welcome the speakers, and thank you for joining us. So I'm going to start by asking some questions of each of the speakers, and I am going to start with Amanda. Hello, Amanda. So why don't we start by talking about what motivated your move to the UK and how did the Global Talent Visa support that journey for you?
Yes, thank you very much for having me on the panel. I grew up in Malaysia, so from a young age, I knew I wanted to be a scientist and leave a lasting impact on the world. But to pursue that dream fully, I realized that I would need to look beyond my home country for higher education. So when I arrived in the UK to study biochemistry, I felt like I had found my tribe. I was surrounded by people who were not only deeply curious, but who, like me, genuinely loved science and believed in its power to change the world. It felt like home in a completely new way. So after my PhD in bioengineering, fast forwarding, so I joined a deep tech startup as one of its founding team members. We were working to remove persistent pollutants from water, contaminants that are not only dangerous, but extremely difficult to extract. In the beginning, I had no idea what made a startup tick, but there was a certain addictive energy to that. I worked with a small team of equally driven people, and we're problem solving together every day, building something from nothing. And I really got bitten by the startup bug, I like to say about that. So about a year into that role, my graduate visa was due to expire. And so what allowed me to stay after that was the global talent visa, which I was really appreciative about. So without it, I would not have been able to contribute to the startup during its most vulnerable stage when everything depends on a vision, on grit and trust. And funding is just uncertain at best. So we took that idea from a lab-based concept to proof of concept. And that kind of long-term, high-risk, high-reward work takes time. And this visa gave me the stability to stay and see it through. It also opened the door for me to return after that to Imperial College London to help spin out another deep tech startup. And I also mentored a group of scientists and engineers as they took bold ideas and shaped them into real ventures. That experience allowed me to keep giving back to the UK startup and innovation ecosystem while continuing to grow as a professional. And over the past 4 years, I've worked in mid-stage startups in the therapeutic space in business development roles, focusing on forging strategic partnerships to bring cutting-edge medicines to life. For me, the global talent visa is not just a pathway to stay, but working in deep tech innovation means living with uncertainty. You might not know if the science will work, or if the startup will last the year, or if the market is ready for what you're building. But this visa then empowers entrepreneurial engineers to take those risks, to embed ourselves in ecosystems, to grow with the work, and to build impactful things that take time to mature. So I believe talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And the global talent visa really helps level that playing field and unlocks not only individual careers, but new ideas, innovations, and industries for the future.
So, Amanda, anybody who just heard your story would think, oh yeah, she's already exceptional. Where do I stand in the ranks? It's not because the work is not difficult. You are clearly made of grit and determination, not just of engineering and innovation thinking. So what advice would you give to women who want to apply for the global talent visa, but they are not yet able to see themselves as exceptional?
Well, the first thing I would say is you might not realize just how exceptional you already are. So to tell you about my experience when I applied 7 years ago, the global talent visa was still called the exceptional talent visa. And I'll never forget opening the form and seeing a full blank page asking for my list of publications, followed by another full page for patents. And then the next section came the awards section, which casually asked whether I had won a Nobel Prize. Well, I stared at it and thought, well, this must be the wrong form. Well, at the time, I was just 1 year out of my PhD with a very short list of publications. So I've not done all the things that I've done already that I just talked about. Thankfully, before my lack of Nobel Prize could send me spiraling into self-doubt, I spoke to Terry at the Royal Academy of Engineering, and she really helped me see how the visa might apply to my story. And that conversation was really a turning point for me, and I was truly grateful to her for it. So if you're even vaguely considering it, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to the Royal Academy team. And I am also very happy to share my own experience with anyone who wants to chat. And the process has taught me something really important, which is that exceptional is not code for famous or finished, especially for early career engineers. It is about potential. It's about showing that you're already making things happen, even if the pieces may still feel early or small, because they really grow into something big in the future. So one of the great strengths of this program is that it leaves room for a wide range of profiles and career stages. So the goal is not to tick every single box. What matters is your unique story and what you've built so far, what you care about, and where you're headed next. I think many of us, myself included, tend to hold back, focusing on the gaps and imperfections. And in addition to that, speaking from personal experience, when you surround yourself with excellent people, that makes you a better in all aspects. But the danger is you recalibrate and you start to see yourself as just normal. Well, you might just be blind to just how exceptional you are. So if you're unsure, share your story with your friends and mentors and let them help you see what you might be overlooking, because I'm sure they'll be able to point out amazing things that you've done that they're really impressed by. Often the very things we downplay to ourselves are exactly the things that show leadership and initiative. So in fact, it was my friend Henrik, co-founder of Pure Affinity, that gave me the push to apply. So I would say go for it. Use the application as a chance to take stock of your journey, reflect on your impact, and enjoy tooting your own well-deserved horn. Even though it might make you cringe a little, I think you might be more ready than you think. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Amanda. That was an excellent introduction to this event this afternoon. And some of the things you have said naturally bring me to some more questions, but I'm going to pose those questions to Dr. Mona Faraji Niri next. So Mona, what challenges and opportunities have you experienced that you don't mind sharing while navigating your field, both as a woman and somebody who was new to the UK engineering landscape?
I think that's a very good question. And linking this to what Amanda mentioned, I'm just probably going to start with the opportunities that I experienced coming to the UK and also using the Global Talent Visa Scheme. So the opportunity was to be able to work at one of the most prestigious, literally, universities in the UK. And within that university, University of Warwick, one of the probably most well-known departments of the university, Warwick Manufacturing Group. So this is the chance that I got. This is an important chance because I had some experience being an academic in Iran in my previous role before moving to UK, and that was mainly the traditional definition of being an academic. Well, what I managed to gain here was to move from that towards a little bit more something between academia and industry, being able to translate and transfer what you develop as cutting edge science, fundamental science, being able to scale it up with your industrial partners and being able to implement that. So this was the great opportunity that I wouldn't have had if I didn't make this choice and move to this environment. So literally right now I have the chance to work with many industrial partners while I'm still an academic. I can teach, but I can also take those research into practice. So I'm working across that different, what we call technology readiness levels, from very fundamental science to the implementation in the real environment. And this was unique for me. This was what I wanted to do when I decided to make this career in research, literally. But about the challenges, to be honest, if I'm to list them, there have been lots of them. And I'm just going to pick a few that I can just see has made me to reflect and select what I can do to overcome them. probably the first and main challenge at the beginning was the emotional challenge of relocation to a new place, because literally I moved after I had done my PhD in Iran. I had a career back in Iran as an academic. I had worked there for about 2.5 years as a postdoc and a lecturer. And then when I moved to the new environment, that was emotionally something, because that meant I had to build new network. I had to meet new people. What I had built through my master's and PhD, making connections with various researchers, supervisors, and I knew the whole environment. I had to somehow reset that and move to new things. And this was a little bit heavy initially. So gradually, I managed to go through this. And the other challenge that I faced here was generally being new to the environment as a researcher, because as a researcher, I had to get monies in, I had to get funds in, so I be able to do the research I like to do. And initially trying to understand what is the funding mechanisms in the UK, who is the key funder, who is funding what sort of TRL of the work. That took me some time, and that was really challenging at a bit. And then by over time, by practicing, I managed to make myself more familiar and funding ways. Now I have about 6 different funds coming in, but it has taken some time, and to share that it's not been easy, and it is understandable if someone is also going through this. So getting that understanding of the new place, that was something. But also I had at the age that I knew I wanted to have a family. So I needed to find that balance between my husband, I had a little one, and my work, and it was quite demanding playing the three together. So coming to that understanding that actually that balance for me, what does exactly mean? That was really challenge, especially when I moved in the steps towards associate professorship, because I started as a postdoc. I tried to learn this because that balance changed over time. So understanding what that balance means for me, and that could be just my own definition. I don't have to look for other people's definition of balance, and keeping that, that was a challenge, especially that as immigrants to the UK, it is rarely that you have a big circle of the family supporting you, or a big circle of friends so supporting you. So having this balance with your work, being able to deliver your research, and also being able to deliver your role as a mother, or as a parent, or as a partner, that was something. And it took me some time to learn, but hopefully I've managed that to some level now.
Thank you. You shared beautifully how you are working your way through a dynamic equilibrium between the personal and the professional. And of course, it is wrenching to move as an adult. I moved to the West as an adult, and it is a different experience compared to when you come here as a child, where your parents are there to provide you with a kind of shield from the world while you navigate, or you learn to navigate the world. So the next question that comes to mind is, what kind of support and what kind of changes in what was available to you would have made your journey easier? And what would be your advice as to how we can create a more inclusive path for the future holders of the Global Talent Visa?
That's also a very good question, because probably I'm going to start what has given me, what sort of support I have received, and probably I can extend on that, what can be done more, or what can be done for others. Probably if I'm going to rank them, the first one at the list is to have opportunities for training and mentoring. So training, when when I'm talking about myself as a researcher, as an academic, training for many people means training in software, training in different programming languages, some maybe, or training with different scientific concept. But so training to be able to express yourself. So especially in management and leadership type of trainings, has been key in my journey. So being able to express yourself, the skill of representation of your skills. This is not easy, and this doesn't come without someone that shows you somehow how to navigate in this difficult path. So I've had chance to have very great mentors. I still have my department supported that in that sense, and I had very strong support from my line manager over the years, that while some of the research funds mainly encourage to go towards professional scientific trainings, software trainings, he supported me using some of these budget for leadership and management training. And that helped me a lot because I realized how other people are doing this, how I managed to see other women leaders. I managed to identify some role models within that circle, within that mentorship and training circles. And that helped me a lot because one of the difficult things for me was, am I the only one going through this difficulty of doing research, managing people, managing my family? But then having examples of other people doing this within that circle was really the key. And probably this is what can be done, what can be provided for other researchers or other individuals as part of this network or any early career network that as women that are trying to build a career here. But also another thing that helped me a lot was being able to make allies, being able to find same level in the hierarchy or in the seniority, I mean, same level people that go through the same thing with you. So you can advocate for them and they can advocate for you. So having those people that speak for you and become your voice when you are not there in that room is really the key. And again, how to do that, I would say it could take some energy from some people because some people have just that natural skill of going out there, do the networking. Some people just don't. I was one of them that didn't really had that skill. So training for this one could also be very key. And about having a inclusive a path for the future global talent, I think it's a combination of strategic decisions and resource allocations for this sort of training, but also it is a little bit more, I'm gonna say, creating inclusive opportunities for the for future generation in terms of recruitment support, for example, for facilitating, sorry, the light here went off. So recruitment support for a more inclusive environment, facilitating relocation. These are the practical factors people might struggle with, those that have family and want to relocate. So allocating resources officially to this could actually help a lot creating that inclusive environment.
Thank you, Mona. And you and Amanda have set us up very nicely to move on to Dr. Lina Mohjazi's experience now. And so, Lina, my first question to you builds on what Mona has been saying. What do you feel about how progress looks like for women in leadership roles? And in that context, could you share with us what you feel the Global Talent Visa has done for your career?
Absolutely. Thank you, Shefaly, and thank you for the Academy for having me today, and hello, everyone. So I completely echo what Amanda and Mona has just mentioned. And for me personally, I feel like progress for women in leadership isn't just about the numbers, because it's about embracing the style of how which we lead with. Because women bring compassion, empathy, emotional intelligence into technical leadership roles. And these are not really only soft skills, they are power skills that allow us to lead, for example, PhD programs with care, manage diverse interdisciplinary teams, maybe run large-scale national or international initiatives. So we multitask naturally, and we have the ability to balance research, teaching, mentoring, admin, personal life, while also building global collaborations or mentoring the next generation of engineers. And real progress really comes when we realize that we don't have to fit into one leadership mold, but rather understand our traits and the way that we lead differently. Now, the Global Talent Visa was really instrumental in my journey because it did not just give me the right to work as other visas. It gave me credibility, mobility, and a platform to grow. So I went from being an instructor in a preparatory engineering department in a university back in the UAE, where I was teaching basic engineering courses such as Introduction to Computing, Calculus for Engineers, all the way to joining a Russell Group World Top 100 University, which is the University of Glasgow. And at the moment, I lead a multi-million-pound impactful research within one of the UK's and Europe's vibrant research group in wireless communication systems. And I'm also acting as a deputy director for a national EPSRC doctoral training center on robotics and AI for net zero, while also leading engineering courses on our transnational education program with the university in China. So it really empowered me to represent the UK in international panels, be at the stage in flagship conferences, engage directly with governments and policymakers to advance the technology in the UK. Now, something very interesting from my own unique journey is that it gave me the space to nurture a vision I was passionate about. So one morning, I simply woke up and I decided I want to bring my expertise in wireless communications and Internet of Things together with my passion for beauty and makeup and skincare. So I imagined a world of connected mirrors, a network of intelligent systems that learn from each other. They might provide remote skin analysis or personalized product recommendations, or maybe enable inclusive, accessible healthcare and wellness services. So I pitched the idea to the head of our research division, who supported me. And then later on, a couple of months later, I received an internal funding to bring the Internet of Mirrors to life. And now I'm leading a thriving research group on this area, mostly with female students because they enjoy these types of areas. So in a nutshell, the GTV has really helped me unlock these potentials. And this is something truly unique about being part of the UK's vibrant research environment, because you can wake up with an idea one day, and then you will find yourself surrounded by the tools, the people, and the freedom to realize it. And this freedom really was instrumental in shaping my leadership here.
Thank you, Lina. I wasn't expecting that. That was a great story. And I think Hedy Lamarr would be proud. So I have another question then for you. You're clearly working on not just the cutting edge ideas in your area of engineering, but also the age-old ideas that actually shape our idea of beauty and engagement with the world. So clearly, there will be a very interesting legacy that you leave behind. And what legacy would you hope as a woman in engineering to leave behind, especially as part of the global talent visa community?
Well, that's a big question and a big responsibility to leave a legacy. But what I really hope for is to leave behind me a legacy that redefines what it means to be a woman in engineering. And more importantly, what it means to grow and lead on our own terms. So for too long, I feel that the academic systems have been shaped around a linear, male-centric trajectory, which doesn't necessarily align with how many women operate, think, or lead. And I want my legacy to normalize that women's progress in academia is not necessarily linear. And that's not a shortcoming, it's a strength, because our path is shaped maybe by family, by caregiving, by emotions, by having the need to pause and reflect more often. And this is a different rhyme of excellence. So in my case, I didn't go straight from master's to a PhD right after my bachelor. First, I worked as a lab instructor when I finished my master's. So there was a 5 years gap between my master's and a PhD. And that's when I started my family. And then when I began my PhD, my baby was still little, and I didn't finish it within 3 or 4 years. It took me 5 years to completely finish it because I was working, I was raising a child, I was looking after a family, I was pursuing my education and working. So that timeline is not unusual, and it's nothing to be, you know, apologetic for. So yes, perhaps some of my male peers are professors at 40, and that's absolutely fine. But if I become a professor when I'm 50 or later, that's also fine. So we must normalize really that there's no single template for academic success, and that everyone's journey is different. And that difference is what makes us really beautiful and unique, because we think differently, we lead differently. Our brains are wired differently to multitask, to empathize, to nurture, and to really connect across different disciplines. So, and that's why maybe my unique strength, I would say, is that I was able to build a thriving research group of brilliant talents at a very early stage of my career. So there was 1 year I was supervising about 12 PhD students, both as first and as second supervisor. And the special thing about it is that the students, they were persuading me to join my group, and they were reaching me out. They were seeking to join that. So I believe, in a nutshell, women, because of their caring and compassionate nature, have this unique ability to grow brilliant minds around them, because we create these safe, empowering spaces. So that's the legacy I'm really proud to cultivate. And at the same time, I would like also to tap on the importance of recognizing that visibility really matters. One thing I've learned, and what I want to pass on, is that we must make ourselves seen. And that's because men, I've noticed that men are usually naturally confident in sharing their achievements and wins. And while many brilliant women hesitate to showcase theirs, so I really made a conscious decision that I will speak up about my contributions, whether they are small or big. So I regularly share my success, my research engagements, or my collaborations. And this is something that I would like to pass on, is to be bold and confident and brave to show off and to be visible and known to others, so that doors can open to you and the ones around you. So as someone who comes from Syria, grew up and worked in UAE and also across UK, Europe, and China, I really would like the young women and migrants and researchers from all backgrounds to look at this story and know that this difference, your strength, your path doesn't need to look like anyone else, and that you can build your own.
Thank you. Now, I realized that I had only allocated 2 questions to each of the speakers, but you would have opinions on other things. So would Mona and Amanda like to add something to the questions that I addressed to Lina, or the other way around? Would you like to add something to the conversation we've had so far before we move to audience questions? You need to unmute yourself, whoever is going to speak.
Sorry, I was just trying.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
just adding to what Lina mentioned, and that's actually a very good point about how you define the success. I wanted to add about literally that success could mean very different to different people. And I'm just looking at my own case and being able, at some point, being able just to secure few 10Ks of pounds as funds, and then at the same time being able to write a single paper and being able to talk at a meeting meant success for me. So that success could mean different things for different people, and that definition can also change over time. So normalizing this and understanding this could actually lift that burden a little bit of women, that they have to do everything together and they have to be perfect, they have to be smart, intelligent, be present and everywhere to be that leader, but literally finding that definition of success for yourself, I think is one of those key things, that reflections, finding that value for yourself is actually very much needed and helps for women navigate this this path.
Thank you, Mona. And I think, Amanda, when you were telling your story, you did talk about discovering the startup bug and readily taking to it. So did that change your idea of success somewhat?
Yeah, for sure. It just showed me a whole new path. You know, I had wanted to be a scientist, and that meant becoming a professor, you know, discovering something amazing. But then during my time at the startup, I just suddenly realized there's such a different way to see things, where we were working on one problem together as a team. So this collective success, we can own it. Individual parts of the team can own it. So that's one of it.
So that's really, yeah, that's really interesting in terms of how your own journeys have shaped up over this time. And it's been really inspiring to me to hear about how you came about on this visa, what this visa enabled for you, and so on. Now, before we go to questions that we have received from the audience at registration, I would like to remind the audience that please don't check out immediately at the end of the event. There is a little survey which we would like to invite you to fill. And there is also information about, if you would like to apply for the Global Talent Visa, how to access the resources at the Royal Academy of Engineering. So I will now go to one of the first questions from the audience. And this one I will address to Lina, which is, what shifts have you seen in gender representation during your time in the sector? Where do you see the momentum going? And what's the one thing you would recommend to make your sector more inclusive for women engineers?
Thank you very much, Shefaly. This is a very interesting point. And I have noticed that there is a slight increase in women's representation, especially man-dominated field. And I'm talking about my own area, which is electrical and electronics engineering or wireless communications. When I started my journey, there were barely, I mean, a few women, a handful of women in that domain. I mean, in my group, I was the only academic at the University of Glasgow, and then more women started to join the group, and this also is resembled across other universities, where now I join meetings, events, maybe government discussions or conferences, and I started to see more women and young female researchers part of the dialogue, and this is something very refreshing to see. So there is, I mean, the momentum is picking up. It is not maybe as fast as we expected it to be, but it is definitely picking up. And in order to make the sector more inclusive to the women, perhaps hold these similar to this, I mean, events similar to these events, for example, this is one. And of course, invite more women to dialogues beyond their internal groups that they are, you know, currently serving on. This will empower their voices. This will showcase their abilities and their strength. And I'm saying this because women are not usually good or naturally good in showcasing, you know, their strength and what they do and their qualities. And another thing that I would like to reflect on is what we can do is maybe tap on the qualities that make the woman unique. Such as the ones that I have alluded on in my discussion, the empathy, the coordination, the multitasking, the emotional intelligence. I mean, we need now to normalize that these traits in women, when they work with men, they complement each other, and they really bring strength to any partnership or to any dialogue into the table. So if we really provide empowerment to these qualities, we provide the elements needed for a more inclusive environment.
Thank you, Lina. I will bring the next question to Mona, and that is, what has helped you to stay focused and resilient in an industry that is often still male dominated, particularly bringing it to you because you did mention the emotional wrench that you felt when you first came, when you first left your country to come here.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, actually. So I would say, so generally, obviously, resilience in the definition means being able to deal with those challenges that you face with and find a solution for them. So I'd say a strength, it's not just for women, but generally, it's not about you not struggling, it's finding a way to face that challenge strategically and constructively. So I would say what has helped me is being visible and being vocal about the challenge that I am facing, but doing that a little bit smartly, because I would say if you just go through the challenge and mix it with the emotions, it's not going to take you anyway. So, by being a little bit smart, having a professional tone, describing the situation and the context rather than the emotion, you find a way to express yourself. And um, also part of that being visible and being vocal is to be able to show that you have already gone through some thinking, you have already done some reflections, you have already come up with some potential solutions. And then if you go out there and speak about your challenges, that gives you the opportunity of others to come in and help you. And again, I'm going to go back to that previous point of mine, how to remain resilient is not easy if you don't have a supportive network. So being alone and dealing with a challenge is something, but having someone around you that knows that you are going through this, speaks for you, and supports you in any way they can, having allies, that is also important. And literally, these allies, they don't need to be always female. Naturally, we might, as female, we might look for female allies, but they could be anyone, they could be anyone at any level. And having that network can really help to stay focused and resilient.
Thank you, Mona. I do hope that the Royal Academy of Engineering has been that ally network for you. And for those who are looking to apply for the Global Talent Visa through the Academy is a great ally to women engineers, as is very evident from us hosting this event today, right? So I'll bring the next question from the audience that we had sourced earlier to Amanda, if that's okay. And the question is, what strategies could the UK engineering industry put in place to support internationally trained engineers to succeed in the UK and succeed beyond the traditional definitions of engineering, as you have demonstrated, Amanda, is possible?
Thank you. Yes. Before I address that one, I just have a small point to add to Mona's story, which is, yeah, really, really resonating here. So one thing that helps me stay resilient is always coming back to my why. So why this work matters to me. Why do I have to be the one to do it? So reminding myself of the impact that I want to make and what I uniquely bring to the table helps me stay grounded, no matter the naysayers or any challenges in the room. It just brings you an internal resilience there. So then coming to the question of what strategies could the UK engineering industry put in place, I think, yeah, talking about the family-related challenges that I think Mona brought up earlier as well. For example, just an example is childcare, ensuring affordable, accessible childcare that could help engineers, particularly women, to balance their careers and family responsibilities. And additionally, opportunities for spouses or skilled workers to access employment support from abroad could help families to settle and thrive together. So don't have to break them apart or anything, or have this momentary gap for a year or two where you don't know when you're going to be reunited. So providing better family support, the UK can ensure that internationally trained engineers feel more welcome and supported, and enabling them to focus on their careers and contribute more effectively to the workforce.
Thank you, Amanda. Mona and Lina, would you like to add something to it in that sequence? Mona first and then Lina. What could the UK engineering industry do? What strategies could they adopt in order to support international engineers further?
I will probably add one more point, and that is, again, I'm going to go back to the point of training. So how you can start and how you can literally build a pipeline for women, and you train them from early age. So if you start when they are out of high school, you have already lost 10 years of education for female. So having a pipeline that you can start with this training early at age for girls, and even for engineering, because this is what exactly UK is struggling at the moment, getting good engineers, interesting people and young people to study engineering. So this needs to start much more earlier, and probably how maybe Royal Academy or similar institutions can support us is by helping to develop those role models, helping to experts to talk back to the youngsters and share the experience that, okay, this can be fun, this can be nice. And also, I would say some of the sector-specific trainings are needed here. So right now we are talking about futuristic manufacturing, we're talking about AI. So trainings in these areas could really start now, so you can secure an engineering workforce for the next 10 years. So I would say that training in any way, as early as possible, would be a strategic thing to be done.
Lina, did you want to add something to that, please?
Well, Amanda and Mona covered pretty much everything I wanted to say, but on the training aspect, and especially looking at training into specialized fields. So one thing I really noticed is that the UK is very much vibrant in terms of having so many close collaborations between academia and industry. And I'm talking from someone who comes from an academic perspective. So maybe we are trained in theoretical concepts and applying maybe fundamental technologies at a very, very basic level. But what truly matters and what truly helps the trained engineers internationally to extend their skill set is to train them on how they can engage with these industries in order to nurture or create partnerships, and in order to properly pitch their ideas, and in order to partner with the right industries in order to have these technologies being commercialized, or in order to deliver real impact. So this will complete the full skill set that that internationally trained engineers would benefit from coming to the UK.
So we have some time to address one question from chat. And that question is, for an early career academic, switching to a startup is scary. How do we build on a seed idea, and whom do we approach to take it forward? I think I'll address this to Amanda, and if anybody else wants to pitch in after that, please.
That is a huge question. Many sub-questions contained within, but I can start by saying, if you speak with someone, whoever that is most accessible to you, or even reach out cold to someone who's done a similar thing, so someone who's gone on that path or started a new company, that can give you a lot of clarity on your next steps. And on the other hand, also, if you're starting from a university, oftentimes universities will have accelerator programs or incubator programs, various types of these resources, or even tech transfer offices. They can often point you to the most relevant resources. And so those are people who could see you in person, meet you, have time to have a chat. I mean, I personally am happy to have a chat too, but also beyond me, there are others in the ecosystem that you can reach out to do that.
Did anybody want to add? Mona, Lina? Okay, so I will ask each of you in the sequence, Amanda, Mona, and Lina, one question. If you had to give one piece of advice to others on navigating a demanding career and personal commitments, what would be that one piece of advice?
Yes. Working in biotech business development right now, it's incredibly rewarding, but it does come with frequent international travel and intense work. My extended family lives on the other side of the world, and finding that balance is still a work in progress. So 2 years ago, I lost my father suddenly, which raised deep questions about my life choices. So since then, I've made it a priority to carve out my time for my mother. This means making sacrifices in the short term, such as I took a career break earlier this year to focus on her physical and mental health. And I found that laying out the tough choices on paper and facing them head on when things are just complex in your head, it helps. It lays it out on black and white, and it's easy to go through. So sometimes you do have to make those brutal decisions, but it's equally important to give yourself compassion at the same time. So it's also about accepting that you won't always get it right, and that it's okay to not have everything figured out. But if you don't make these priority decisions for your life, then someone else will be sure to make them for you. So
Thank you.
beyond that, I also try to inject an element of fun to both my work and life in general, and that energy and laughter can really spread and helps in all aspects. Problem solving, fresh perspective makes the day more enjoyable overall. So
thank you, Amanda. Mona?
I think Amanda mentioned very good points, and I'm going to start by saying it's fantastic to be part of this conversation. And what probably I would say is I'm going to advise is that expose yourself as much as you can to other people's experience and hear about how they have done this, why they have done this in this particular way. It's been many times that I've asked about, okay, I'm at this particular situation. I need to do this thing with my family, with my kid. What you have been doing this? You have already 2 kids, and you are still working as a professor, etc. So ask about what are the solutions that you might have been blind to, and bring them in. But also, I would say set the boundaries about what your work and life balance might look like eventually at the end of it. So if you have to leave at a particular time of the day to pick up your kid or do something for your family, just set it and just remind that to people. I never managed to take meetings after 4:30 every day, and I just keep reminding them that, okay, this is my boundary, I need to know to keep that balance.
Thank you. That was a very important point. Thank you, Mona. Lina?
Absolutely. I second Amanda and Mona. And one thing I learned is that I learned to shift my priorities from 1 week to the other, from one month to the other. And that's absolutely okay, because one of the biggest things I have come to learn, like very, very recently now, is that the idea of balance means that does not mean doing everything at once and perfectly all the time. Some weeks you will see me working day and night, maybe during the weekends, not often, but maybe, in order to meet deadlines, writing grant proposals, or maybe flying to China to deliver my taught courses. Other weeks you will see me intentionally slowing down my pace and focusing on having this quality time with my family, with my daughter. And I've learned not to feel guilty about it either. So this is really one big advice. And flexibility here is the key. Because life changes, the dynamics changes, and so we can change our priorities. So when I moved to the UK, it was a huge shift because I have left behind a strong support system. I left with my daughter only. My husband's work is based in Dubai. So while he frequently travels to the UK, I am the main caregiver to our daughter. So there were my parents, my husband, and even a resident nanny. So suddenly I was the sole caregiver, managing everything on my own, while also a very demanding academic job. So I had to force myself to rethink my routines and be more strategic in my time. So I really, I always help myself, and I do that regularly, to time block with intention, time block any family activity, any work-related activity. And I don't try to be available to everyone at all the time, because as Mona said, boundaries are not selfish, really, they are necessary. And I have managed to build a support network around me of extended, fellow parents, colleagues, and friends. And I let go of the perfection, absolutely. Although I'm a perfectionist, I let go of this idea. So some emails might be late a little bit, some laundry might pile up sometimes. And that's absolutely okay, because we need to remind ourselves that we are modeling something powerful for our children. I'm talking about especially parents, coming from my own experience. And we are showing them by example that resilience, ambition, and self-compassion is really, really important.
Thank you. So time has flown by. This was a very inspiring afternoon for me. And there are some key takeaway messages, very obvious from meeting the three wonderful women engineers in front of us today, that women of global talent are shaping UK engineering. It is also very clear from all your stories that diversity drives innovation, whether it is diversity of thought, experiences, backgrounds, different ways of approaching things that have been problems for humanity for a long time. It opens up new pathways where you can create impact. But then it also tells us that there is a very huge number of barriers that remain. However, where there is a barrier, there is an equally huge determination that is going to bring that barrier down. Women do continue to face more systemic challenges in engineering. And the speakers' journeys here today have shown us that if you have resilience, if you build extraordinary resilience, and you build support networks, mentorship, and if there is inclusive policy support, women can go places no man has gone before. And last but not the least, the UK is stronger with global talent of the kind we have seen today. And therefore, I would like to close this afternoon by thanking the audience for joining us today's inspiring conversation. We have heard great stories that remind us why inclusive engineering matters and how international women in engineering are making a real difference in the UK. We continue to advocate for diverse voices in STEM, and let's carry forward what we have heard here today, whether it's mentorship, policy, or simply telling these stories, repeating these stories, taking inspiration from these stories. We will all have a role to play in building an engineering sector that reflects more clearly the world that it's serving. So finally, a big thank you from me and from the Academy to our speakers for their honesty, for their brilliance, and for their leadership. If you would like to know more about the Global Talent Visa, please contact the team. Their details are on the screen right now. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day.